He's been here. When did he come? What is this, 24, 28? Oh, you want to go to 28? Yeah. Yeah, does that date even make sense? I mean, they might have tricked me into some kind of thing. That's been one of the camera guys. Where's your tie? You look like Clay Hall over there. All casual and. Good to see you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here, especially on short notice. How things are going to happen this morning, our President of Hockey Operations, John Davidson, has a few remarks he'd like to make to start, and then he'll take your questions. When he is done, as you know, the team's practicing now, so head coach Pascal Vincent will be brought in here as soon as he's off the ice, and then we will bring in our four captains, Boone Jenner, Sean Corrali, Eric Goodbranson, and Zach Wierenski, and they'll each take your questions. You know, it's a getaway day for us today, so there's a lot going on in the room and back house as we prepare to leave for the trip. So when we get to questions, if you do have one, please raise your hand and we'll make sure we get you a mic. So with that, I'll turn it over to JD.
Thank you. Good morning. I, too, will say thank you for getting over here and without much of a heads up. It's a very hard day for me, as Jarmo Kekalainen is a friend and a very smart and talented manager. Unfortunately, as a team, our results haven't been good enough. We all, starting with myself, as head of hockey operations, share responsibility for that. While our team is improving and we have some very talented young players and prospects, it became apparent that we needed a new voice to lead us forward as we turn the page. This decision was difficult because of the quality of the person that Jarmo is. He's a dedicated, loyal, hardworking guy who did a lot of great things, both on the ice and in our community over the past decade. We will always be grateful to Jarmo, his wife Tina, and their girls, as they have made our organization and our community a much better place. That said, Mike Priest and I, along with our ownership group led by John P. McConnell, concluded evaluations and decided now was the right time to make a change. While we begin our search for our next general manager, I will work with our hockey operations management team on all hockey-related decisions, including the upcoming trade deadline and ongoing scouting efforts. We have no set timetable for hiring a new general manager, other than it will be when we know we have found the right person for the job. Our intent at this time is to focus on candidates outside the organization. This is a critically important decision. Mike Priest and I will oversee this process with a final decision made by the two of us along with our ownership. We do not plan on conducting this search in a public forum. Our focus will be to find the individual who will help us set up our club for sustained success at the highest level. Our fans, who year in and year out prove to be the best in the world, have been remarkably supportive, and they deserve nothing less. So again, before I take questions, I want to thank personally and on behalf of everyone at the Blue Jackets, thank Jarmo for all he has done. Wish he and his family all the best in the future. Thank you, and I'll take questions.
John, you're 3 weeks from the trade deadline. You're a couple weeks after a long break in the middle of the season. Why did now make sense to make this move rather than after the season or during that long break?
Yeah, we've well, one reason is because I had back surgery. I was out of commission for some time, and I know I've certainly done my best to stay in touch with everything, but I haven't been around physically. We talked with Mike. We talked with our ownership, and this is the conclusion we came to. We know what's going on regarding the trade deadline 3 weeks away. Everything's been documented. Jarmo, in talking to Jarmo yesterday, and it was difficult, Jarmo's, he's a very professional person. And we talked even about things that he's discussed with other teams. It's all right there. Anything we need, all we do is pick up the phone and call him. He's great.
You didn't think this could wait till after the season?
No, we decided now's the time as we turn the page. So with everything that we have ahead of us, we wanted to start the process now.
When you say you came to the conclusion, what was the conclusion? Was there one thing, or was it just a cumulative effect?
Craig, it's just sometimes when timing is right, we just felt now's the time. We have a lot ahead of us. We've had a up and down, at times turbulent season. I just think that going forward, now is the time to turn that page and go forward with all the decisions that we have to make that are ahead of us. We've also done some very good things this season. I've seen a lot of young players pop. We're a tough out. There's been too many outs. We've improved in areas. But just now is the time. This is the feeling and the decision that we made as a group.
What was kind of the message to, whether it be players, coaches, about kind of the next, turning of the page? What was kind of like that message?
Yesterday, I met with Jarmo, so he had a chance to, Mike and I met with Jarmo, so Jarmo had a chance to talk to his family. He has 2 girls, he has parents. He wanted to call some people in hockey operations, which he was able to do. I then did the same thing. Today, we met with our coaches early, and then we met with our complete hockey staff, which includes trainers, strength and conditioning, and all our players, gave them the message. And the message primarily was that the change is made. This is a process that we're trying to go through to become a much better hockey club, to become a consistent hockey club, so nobody let their guard down. We're improving in certain areas. We've got a lot of areas to improve in. Let's go. It's as simple as that.
And as you turn the pages, do you expect any other personnel changes to be made?
Not at this time. I'm sorry.
Tim Beal at Cleveland.com. John, you said at the outset you're pretty much looking primarily at outside candidates. In the process to move on from Jarmo, when did it kind of become clear that maybe a fresh perspective from the outside was needed as far as, establishing a vision and a direction, especially when it comes to development? Because I know Jarmo said in the past it's more about retooling than try to rebuild.
I don't know about that. You know what? When we talk about candidates, we know what we have on the inside. So it's our job to exhaust every avenue you can. So I can tell you honestly right now, we don't have anybody in mind. But we're going to exhaust every possible avenue that we can as we go forward. And regarding retooling, rebuilding, the word, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is we get better, and we know the future primarily with our club are the veterans that we have here that are good players and they're young players that we feel are popping. And you've seen Chinikov pop this year. You've seen other young players not do as well, but they're coming. It's hard. And there's no set timetable for young players to pop. There's just not. So we know we're going in the right direction. The way I feel is that if I look at our team now, our 5-on-5 plays decent. Our special teams are struggling. We have strengths that are good. Keep building on it. We have weaknesses that we have to keep working at to get better as a team. And that's been reiterated to our coaching staff. And we have to keep going forward.
John, there's been issues here through the years with player retention lately. You've got a collection of young talent in the room. You've got some big contract negotiations coming up with them in the next few years. How important is that to sort of foster a different spirit maybe between the front office and the room and keeping this group together?
When I think about that, I look at a player like Boone Jenner, whom you interviewed the other day, and he loves it here. And I have not had a player come up to me and say, I don't like Columbus, I don't want to play for the Blue Jackets. I honestly think that they do, and I think they love playing here, including some of the veteran players. Now, obviously, players do come and go. That's part of the nature. Sometimes negotiations get hard, but that's how it is. I'd venture to say that there's been some tough things that have happened. We're going to work at all that stuff to make us better in every area, but I also think that this is a place that's been built up not only as a team, winning would certainly help, but also the city itself, to live here. It's a pretty special place. So I look at it a little bit differently.
I'm talking about the city. I'm talking
Yeah,
about,
no, I
I'm
understand
talking about
that.
the management
Yeah,
here.
no, I understand that. I think that our players that are here right now, I haven't had anybody walk in or that I know of that say, I want to get the hell out of here. It's just not happening. So it's my job now to watch, well, it's my job, period, to watch that and do our best to make sure that this is a place that they want to stay for all the right reasons.
Just two, John.
Yeah.
One is there anything culturally that you think needs to change within hockey operations on down to the bench?
From upstairs down, you mean,
Yeah.
Mike? It's something that, for me right now, with the change, I've already got a lot of meetings set up, some on the road, because we're going away today for a week, some when I get back. We're going to go through everything from A to Z. And for me right now to say, yeah, I'm going to change this and that and this and that, I don't think it's fair for me to say that right now, but it's certainly up to me to try to evaluate that. And if there's changes needed, I'll make them.
If there's a way to describe what Jarmo's legacy here was, could you at least start
Yeah.
to describe it?
Well, this team over some of the years was close, and I mean really close. When we lost to Boston, Boston lost in the 7th game of the finals. We had Washington down by a couple of games. They came back and they won the cup. I saw us play Pittsburgh, fight them tooth and nail, great series, and they won the cup. For me, we were close. Now we're in a different situation where we're waiting for some players to pop. It's going to be up to the new general manager to come in and try to assess what we need, where we need, and how he's going to do it. Also, I think with Jarmo is, as I talk to the players today and the coaches, he's an honest man. He's a hardworking, passionate person. He was here in his 11th year, and that in itself is pretty good. Things go south. It's up to us to realize that and make a change, which we did. But he'll always be a Blue Jacket, he and his family.
You sort of committed to a rebuild or a retool a few years ago, and then Gaudreau happens. I don't think anybody expected you to say no to that. The Dubois trade happens, and that changes things, a young player leaving for 2 others. Did it just kind of, this year and last year going into this year, did it just sort of reach a point where the direction of where this was going and how to get there was no longer clear?
I think when you have young players that you're playing and you hope they pop, and some are, because we've seen this season, that's, for me, has been the brightest spot, as our young players have come along. Our crowds have been fantastic. I talk to a lot of people around the league, say, you know, I like watching your team play. You guys are fun to watch. Well, we may be fun to watch, but we're not winning enough. But, you know, the third period's destroyed us earlier in the season. We're getting better at that. I think with some of the players, whether it be the Dubois thing or whatever it was, things do happen, and you have to deal with them. Myself, I think that you also have to have players around that you can't come in here with 2 or 3 lines of pure young players thrown to the wolves and hope they play well. Meanwhile, they're going to go backwards because you're playing in the toughest, nastiest, best league in the whole wide world. So you have to have players that are going to come in and help. Johnny Gaudreau, I think, by his own admission, has been good and not so good. But he's still, and we're hoping that his good nights are really good. The game the other night here at home in the loss to Tampa Bay, when I saw Zach Werenski play and Johnny play, that was worth the price of it. Progress with our young players. And we've got more coming. You take a player like Matejchuk. He's had a phenomenal season. And then at the highest level where he is, which is the World Junior, he was phenomenal. So that's something that's going to be coming. David Juracek's going to be coming. Even though he is spending some time in the minors, we just want him to improve. We want him to play games. So we're going to go through this process. As I said the other day, I watched an interview with Jeff Rimmer and Rick Tocchet from Vancouver. And Rick Tockett's done a hell of a job as a coach there. And he was talking about what they've done. And he talked about the process, the word process. He says, you know, a lot of people out there say they get tired of the word process, tired of process. I don't think it's used enough, is what he said. And I tend to agree with him. Sometimes the process of what you're trying to do on the ice can be done in a year for a certain player or 3 years for another player. But it's still a process, and it's not all tied together. It's a difficult thing to go through. It's hard. It's hard to win in this league, especially with young players. But we feel strong about a lot of our youth, the direction they're going, the ability for our team to stick together right now through tough times is quite remarkable. That's a very tight group in that room. And I admire that. And I told them that today. As we go forward, we need you guys to remember the process. This process is going to be for the rest of the season and beyond. So stick with it, stick together, and we're going to see where we go.
JD, what does this change mean for you? Are you more hands-on now? Are you down in the room
Well, I have
more
to be
often?
now,
What does it
for
mean now?
sure. Yeah, I'm in charge right now of everyday hockey operations. I'll work with Josh Flynn and Basil McRae, the two assistant general managers. I'll be working in conjunction with Mike because there's more than just our games. There's the process we're going through. There's that word again. The process we're going through with finding the new general manager. So it's going to be a good, hard ride, a good, hard ride.
And just to follow up, you and Jarmo, you couldn't mention one without the other.
Yeah.
Just what does this day
It's hard.
mean to you personally? It's got to be tough.
When you think of Jarmo, I met him in St. Louis when he was running the draft there. Then he went back and ran a team and won a championship in Finland. He's an honest guy. He's got a great family. You know, when you talk about traits with people, if you're an honest guy and you have a wonderful family, it tells you something about the individual. And, you know, I know that for a lot of us, and it rightly so, it's about results. It's a business, but there's also human beings involved. So I knew when we brought Jarmo in that someday this might happen. It happened. It's not a lot of fun, but that's hockey. It's pro sports. On we go.
JD, a lot of times during these administrative moves, we hear from you. It's good to see Mike here today. Ownership always talks through the printed word, through statement. And I hear fans say, we have an absentee ownership. Have you ever urged them to go face to face and just maybe reassure fans? Why do they always stay in the background?
That might be better for Mike to answer.
I'll take that one. There's a couple things. The first I would offer up to you, I don't think you've ever seen the ownership on the day that we've terminated people. That's just not what you do. I get the narrative a little bit, but I'm in the know, so I know how much they're involved. But it's not their style, and it never has been their style, nor do I think it, when you ask other people around our league, that's why they call to want to come to this organization, is because they empower the people they have to do the right thing and to run the company. That's their expertise. They give them great autonomy to do that. They're totally informed, and they totally have a say. Trust me, I hear it. So they are very engaged, but they're not going to come up here and pretend that they have the expertise that JD has or Jarmo had. That's not fact. But when the decision gets made, then it's made. And one of the things they will always say, and it goes to a couple of the questions before about timing, is that you have our support as long as you have our support. But when that goes away, when you know you're going to make a change, it is in respect to the people to let them know, not allow them to become lame duck, not allow them to come to you and you have to say no. So when you talk about now and their involvement, they're very much people who say, you'll have my support. I've gotten calls and things over time where they talk about, you know, give support. Can you still support them? If they're still being paid by us, they still have our support. But we also are people of character. When that goes away, for whatever reason, still love the person. But when it goes away, then it's time to tell them and to be fair to them. And that's one reason why you get to today. You could pick a number of different reasons. You know, you don't want to put him in a bad position for trade deadline where he can't do his job. You know, those are issues that you can come to. You can debate whether it's a good time of year or not. But when decisions are made in respect to the people, then we're going to make that decision, and we're going to be honest about it. And so,
Do you still feel that support as well?
Oh, yeah, very much so. I would say that ownership here has, it's a tremendous ownership. They give us all the tools we need. It's, that is something that's very special with this organization.
John, what qualities are you looking for? What is the most important thing in hiring a new general manager? Do you think outside the box? And give us an idea of what you think it'll be like. How much interest will there be in this job? Will you get a bunch of calls?
Yeah, I think we'll get a lot of calls. I really do. In fact, I've already had a couple. It's a good situation here with ownership, the city itself, with the amount of talent that we have already assembled. It's not like starting from the bottom. So yes, I think there'll be a lot of interest. I'm looking for a person that's going to, and we will look outside of the box. We'll look everywhere. And that's what we have to do. That's why we're in no rush to do this. But we're going to look for energy. We're going to look for smarts. We're going to look for a player evaluator, a person that understands analytics, everything from A to Z. That's what it's going to be. And I'm sure when Mike and I discuss this with people, somebody's just going to pop right out for us. And nothing's out of bounds. Zero. We're going to look everywhere we possibly can.
Time for a couple more, so we'll start with you.
Hey, JD. You've talked about process, but what is the standard you want it to be here? Obviously, you know the fan base, they come, they love this team, but there is frustration. So what do you want this standard to be, and how do you get there with a new GM?
Well, the reality is there is frustration. We have to all fit on doing and not rushing into it. We're going to find somebody that's going to help us become a team that's going to be good on the ice, and not just for a short period of time. We need something that's going to sustain, to make us a good hockey club for a number of years and have that window open properly where you can add to it and give it a run. That's how it works. So I'm confident in the fact that we'll find somebody very strong. I'm confident in the fact that there's going to be a lot of people very interested in this job. I know because I talk to a lot of people around the league all the time. That's what I do. And the positives outweigh the negatives as to where we are as a team on the ice. And we're going to need someone that's going to be, that's going to open our eyes. It's going to make us think further, and help us keep on going in the right direction to where we're a club that's going to be a threat.
And I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you this next one. As president and now interim general manager, conversation around the league about the Blue Jackets playing in a stadium game against the Red Wings. What can you update us on that?
I really can't. I've had enough going on with this stuff. That's my office is here in the hallway, and down the hallway is the whole business side, and Mike's in another office, and they're the ones taking care of all this stuff. I got enough on my plate right now. I hope it happens. I know there's been talk. I'd be so excited to see this happen for this. But it's like the Field of Dreams. You do it and they'll come. Could you imagine that place with 80,000 people in there? I mean, that's overwhelming.
John, you've talked about the young players, and obviously you've got plenty of young prospects that are working their way through. As you look for the next GM and people to kind of work through the process, as you say, how important is it to find a guy who, has a clear plan and understanding, what the next steps are, making sure you turn those young players and you develop them into, the types of players that can carry a franchise, can take you guys to where you need to go?
It's critical. It's critical. But I also think that the biggest plus for me for our team this season has been and they have ups and downs, young players. They just do. It's just natural. Some aren't strong enough physically yet they're playing. Some aren't used to the grind. They've never been in a grind where you're going to play an 82-game season. But I've seen good things. I've seen a lot of good players come in here, or young players come in here that are doing a lot of good things. That gets me excited. And that's where we are right now. And when the new person comes in, he's going to be given the ability to make decisions. That's going to be his job. And Mike and I will support this person as much as we possibly can, and we'll work with him.
Can Mike say something on a game in the stadium? Patience. I was just curious. JD said patience.
I can. I won't.
just a minute, thank you.
One more, I think.
No,
Okay.
go ahead, Mike.
You're being very clear in your message now. Do you think it was clear enough to fans over the previous 2 seasons, for instance, about how good this team would be or where it was relative to rebuilding? I think that's a source of
Yeah.
some fans'
Could you,
They weren't clear on what exactly the plan was.
well, because we signed Goodrow, you mean? Sometimes you try to expedite, sometimes you take pressure off young players when you have a player. I think, well, not for me, I don't think. I think I would like to be in the hunt for the playoffs. There's nothing better than having a young team that can get down. If you ever made the playoffs, that would be extraordinary. But if you're in the hunt, it's just, it's something that's very important too, because it gives you the players that experience. It gives you, those players, the experience of going through a final portion of the season where you're in the hunt. That's an important thing. That hasn't happened this season. It's very disappointing, but we have to deal with reality. And our slow start hurt us for a number of reasons. But I'm now focusing wholly on 2 things. One would be finding a new general manager, and 2, continuation of, in particular, our young players, and getting others like Proverson and Severson, who came here as free agents, to get them to settle in even more and become even better players. There's things that have to happen here the rest of the way. Is that fair? Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
Be right back with Pascal.